all on my own, holding tight to the pledge. I'm somewhere near the edge of wishing we never met. I'm scared of being without you, afraid no one ever know me. I'm out near the edge, and I can't get inside of my head yet. Think like come on, become it. It's all I ever wanted. Never like me when you sober, only like you when I'm lonely.
Like it or not, with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth
and not care who doesn't like it.
It is. What is today? Thursday, man. We're almost at the weekend. Thursday, March 25th, 2021. Thanks so much for joining us.
It's 24th.
No, it's the 25th.
Are you kidding me?
You're going to make me have to go look at my phone now.
It is the 25th.
It's the 25th. Yeah.
I apologize about that, Ben. I have had my days tied up, and I have an appointment on the 26th, and now I'm like, oh my God, that is so tomorrow, but whatever.
That's
Tomorrow, right.
Yeah, and she came with all that heat and that bass in her voice. Like, it's the
24th.
I'm like, nah,
yeah,
I'm looking
that
at
early morning bass.
Yeah, she said it so convincingly.
It made
like I'm looking at my computer. I said, well, let me double check. Let me look at my phone. Maybe my computer is off because it's a Mac and Macs suck. But anyway, I digress. How's everybody doing this morning?
That's with the MacBooks, man.
Man, because I spent too much money on this here Mac for it to be crashing every time I try to do a live stream. Every time I be like rendering a video, and it's been a mess. It's just been a really bad experience for this.
I'm gonna take it off your hands for you, okay? I'll take it off your hands. We'll talk on camera. I need to know what year it is, so we'll talk. We'll talk.
It's pretty brand new, but I might trade it in exchange for the hookup on a whole bunch of other stuff. But anyway, I digress.
I've had a MacBook for years, and it's been the same. Everybody just gives it the hype, the name, we'll just say, ooh, MacBooks and Apple is just rich. It's rich for my blood, but it's really not.
I'm going to be honest with you. Like, the only thing I really swear by is the iPhone. I don't think I could ever get off of the iPhone. Like, I got off the iPhone one time because I couldn't afford it. And then I went back. I found a way. To get back on it because these here Androids people got out there. But shout out to everyone in the chat room who's watching via an Android. Go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button. We definitely appreciate you.
Because they can actually watch with no issue in the corner if they swipe out. Meanwhile, we're being asked to be charged on our iPhones because YouTube is like, hell no.
They're just now getting that feature, right?
Yeah.
So, the pop-out box. Like,
we're just now getting that feature for certain things, but it won't be for YouTube. I have a friend who doesn't even have a subscription with YouTube to have that feature, but on her Android phone, she actually can just swipe out. Like, so she uses YouTube for when she drives and stuff. And that's what I like about it. Like, the freedom of the Android was the best. For me, I was so broken, my Android died, and I had to go get the iPhone. That's how I made the switch.
You had to resort to the iPhone.
iPhone was the cheapest on the market at that time. Yes.
For me, it was like that was I haven't been off the. I never looked back until I just couldn't afford it at one point. But anyway, James, how you feeling this morning with the second day, 2 days after the vaccine, man? I'm trying to know what to expect.
I feel like ain't nothing happened.
So you back to normal?
Arm stop hurting, man. Headache gone, stomach ache gone. It's just like literally, it felt like I had the symptoms for about 10 to 12 hours. After that, I was good to go, man. I was out in the streets all day last night. I was everywhere.
Look at you.
On top of cars, everywhere. Doing cartwheels off of buildings, all everywhere, man. Everywhere. Nah,
you were climbing up
my ass in the house. Child, yes, Spider-Man. Yeah.
He was saving. He was coming to save me. Thank you, Baba.
Exactly right.
So Rebecca, we gotta. James, how did you get your appointment, man? Because like now I'm eligible. Rebecca's eligible today in Georgia. Everyone who's over the age of 16 can go and get the vaccine. I think it's the same in a couple of other states. Where do we go to get it?
I need to find the website. It's a complicated website. I went to the news station and got the link for it.
Okay.
But once you go on there, then you go on, get the appointment, date, time, everything, and that's it. That's all you need to do. You answer a few questions, and that's all. It's like, and I mean, anybody could have just put anything and just when they got a vaccine. Going on honestly,
I believe it. I do. I believe that.
They don't do any medical checks.
Yeah. What they're gonna do? Be like, send me your whole history for your whole entire life. That's gonna back up the people getting vaccines, and they don't.
I just be like, well, I ain't got no insurance. I ain't got no doctor. We talking about? I ain't got no doctor. I can't get you no records. We talking.
So are the vaccines free, or do you have to get your like insurance involved or whatever?
They're free. They're actually free. I know through the state they're free, and actually I had another appointment today for Walgreens, and even the one at Walgreens.
Because you double booked.
I double booked. I had to make such I saw one for today, and I was able to pull up one for Tuesday. I'm like, let me go ahead and do this Tuesday one instead, so I'll be good to go.
Somebody in the chat room saying they just want to remind people, and I think they want to remind you too, James, but I know because we talked about this off air, it takes the vaccine about 2 weeks to actually kick in and to be effective. So anyone who's getting their vaccine this week, don't go out to the club yet. Just sit in the hole for about 2 more weeks, and you can you'll be good to go. That said, somebody else wants to know why we're all dressed in black, Rebecca. Why?
So we're mourning. See, at first we weren't dressed in black, but yes, now we're all Miss Mary Mac, all dressed in black. We are mourning. We're mourning. Derrick Jackson's relationship, Derrick Jackson's career, his marriage, his status. We are mourning Derrick Jackson. We're really not, honestly, listen, Derrick Jackson, there have been new developments with that. I just want to kick the show off with that, give y'all a little kiki, give y'all a little tea. So Derrick Jackson has another situation that came out that was with another woman who he had allegedly got pregnant. I say allegedly very strongly, although there is a strong possibility because of a phone call that happened with the same person who broke the news of Derrick Jackson's infidelity as a relationship coach. My God. So it's all of that has been happening. And she's been talking about her pregnancy with him and how he didn't want her to terminate the pregnancy.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. You said a whole ass baby?
Another woman. Another woman. Yeah, now. So I don't know if she kept the baby or not. I just was like, I'm going to bed at this point. It's just too much for me. Because they remind me of a couple on the show Married at First Sight Atlanta. Have you guys watched? Because that show is pretty crazy. And every blue moon my wife has it on. Yeah, there's a couple called Chris and Paige on there, which has been working my blood pressure up to the sky. And she, it reminds me of that as far as her saying that, God is here to keep me in this type of relationship. And for me, honestly, it's not about, I don't think God is going to keep you in something that you're suffering in. And even if you don't believe in God, I don't even think the universe will put you in something to suffer in. Right. And I just don't believe that. There's nothing in me that believes that. Sis, run. But at this point, it may be for Derrick Jackson's wife, more of like a Stockholm syndrome thing that we talked about yesterday. And because I feel like he's emotionally abusive, and finally he showed her to the world, and I think that she interpreted that as he's working on our marriage. So but it sucks. It sucks for all of that.
So just as so we aren't wearing black. We aren't wearing black because of that. It just so happens I saw both of them wearing black. I was like, well, hell, let me go change, and I got changed in like 0.2 seconds. But that said, it turns out that is actually a hat on her head. Did you see the follow-up video?
It is actually a hat. She did her. She put herself in the army of the army.
She was talking about the full armor of God.
Oh my God!
So she said that she's in the army for the Lord. She's a soldier in the army of the Lord. And I know we're laughing about that, but there is something disturbing about a woman who about a man who allows his woman to say that, I'm going to suffer because this is what God wants me to do. It's very embarrassing. And I think that he wants us to see her very broken in a mental space that isn't healthy so that he can have something to fall back on and say, hey. And you know what's crazy? It wasn't only the men. It was other women who said, look at her. She's not sexy. Somebody who doesn't do her makeup every day. Somebody who doesn't put on, pretty clothes for her husband. This is exactly what, why he cheated. And for me, I'm like, see, at the end of the day, when I get off of this whole thing, baby, I might keep it on to work out. But after that, sweet. Look, edges is not laid anymore. They're curled up. The bags under my eyes are available for everybody to see. I just have my hair up in a bun or it's just all over the place. And whatever shirt I pick up, that's what I put on. And I get back to my job, my corporate job. And whoever sees me that way on FaceTime or whatever, that's that.
Listen. Like, let me just give fellas. I will never enter into the relationship advice category. I would never like what you do. I'm encouraging society to go ahead and move into the year 3000 where we put all these sexual taboos to the side and just live our best lives with consenting adults. That said, let me tell you something. If you think your woman is going to look like you met her in the club every single day, all day long, don't even worry about getting married. Don't even worry about having a long-term relationship because you don't look like that. Right. And then the other thing is that's not even a big deal. The other thing is I wonder what kind of video Kevin, is it Kevin or Derrick? Derrick. I wonder what kind of video he would put out if his wife had a man on the side. I wonder how he would feel about that because he's real positive right now because it's working out good for him. His book sales is working out. He's getting more followers. He's getting more attention than he ever got. But I wonder what kind of video he put out if his wife did the exact same thing.
Here, rip her a new one. He has videos about other women who have done this particular thing, and he has basically said, for me, it's the separated, but you're still married thing, and I believe that with my whole heart. If you are separated and it's consensual between you two, that okay, we're separated because financial reasons. We're gonna wait until we can really afford this divorce and divorce. You know what I mean? And but both of y'all know that situation. I don't want you, and I don't want you. We've moved on from the romantic side of this relationship. We can really just be here and tell our partners that we're going to be with what the situation is, so they're comfortable in that. But there are a lot of men who are out here who are still married under the guise of divorce, and they're saying that they're separated. And they're saying they're walking around here and they're saying, okay, they're getting with these people and being like, they're using divorce as the first word when they meet another person.
No, this is how you tell. Tell. Where are they for Christmas? Where are they for? Let me know. Okay, and again, I'm not even going to do. I ain't going to do the Steve Harvey side of the equation either, where he trying to give out all the game. I ain't gonna give out all the game.
Right,
y'all gotta figure that
ain't game. Every woman will tell you that. That's not game. It's really trash.
Basic now.
It's really trash. It's basic knowledge.
Game is trash too. I'm not elevating the game. I'm just saying if they are not there for Christmas, birthdays, all that kind of stuff, you know where they at. So anyway, I digress.
Period.
So anything else we want to talk about before we talk about the news? Because again, we'll get to the news. We'll get to the news. Yeah,
that's really it. That's honestly it. Other than that, I think that Derrick Jackson is trash, and I really hope that his wife really finds out, finds herself.
Trash
and then I'll end it with this one. I'll put a pin in it. Again, when he says that he's divorced, please, and I hate that it has to be this way, but men who are separated and you meet somebody, be honest in the beginning so that the woman can have her choice. If she wants to still be with you or if she wants to move on, do not lock her in where she's already in love with you and then you turn around and be like, oh my God, I'm still married, I'm just separated, and I'm a broken man. Get the out of here.
This is what you got. Listen, y'all better stop playing games with people's emotions out here because
for real,
it is the year of the Lord 2021 and people ain't playing on both sides of the equation. See, the reason you got to be truthful is because if you ain't truthful and then they find out that truth and it hit them a certain kind of way, they got your text messages, they got photos of you, got all this.
And you're bringing up another point.
They got, man, y'all out here playing around. Just tell the truth and shame devil. Just tell the truth. Say you want to be a hoe. You want to be a hoe. You want to be a hoe. See if you can find people who will allow you to be a hoe with you. If you can't allow to be a hoe, then can't be a hoe. Sorry.
That's it. And look, you just brought up another point. This is the last one. I'm gonna put a pin in it. I'm done. Listen, You guys really have to understand that, if you want to be out here and be free and do all that, do that. But who you going to do that with? Be careful. Let me tell you something. Yeah. I have a lot of receipts on people that, I could blow up and put out, but that's not my way of moving. I don't move like that. Like I can, but I just don't. I just don't like that. I don't like to embarrass a person when I can literally clear them in person and, read them like a book. They suffer and they be trying to hit me up later. Now, putting people out there like that, I'm not really into, but in this particular sense, it was just like, if I don't do it, somebody else will. In that case. So be careful who you do this with, because you might meet the wrong one. And every single thing that you talk about, everything that you discuss, everything that you say will be out there for free. Will be out there for free.
You know what? I'm working on and I probably shouldn't say this out loud because it's such a good idea, but can you imagine if our cell phones started telling on us?
I'll be in trouble.
They already do.
Can you imagine if like Facebook, if Facebook and Twitter decide to release some of y'all? See, that's I'm so glad I did not get on the internet until I was old enough to know better. But some of y'all and y'all DMs, if y'all DMs ever got leaked, have mercy. Man. Anyway, this is worse than the FBI.
Right.
All right. Somebody's anxiety just shot up to 10.
I apologize. I know. I feel that. When I saw what happened, my anxiety too. So we're gonna let it. We're gonna let it go.
Yeah, we're gonna let that one go because that's
Jesus.
All right, let's talk about some American political news. So what you got on the docket, Rebecca?
All right. So some Senate Democrats push voting reform forward. On Wednesday, Senate Democrats began hearings into the For the People Act, also known as H.R. 1. The For the People Act includes sensible voting policies such as automatic voter registration, requiring same-day voter registration on Election Day, gerrymandering reform, and campaign finance reforms. Addressing his Republican colleagues, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer had this to say.
In the wake of the November elections, one of the safest in recent history, Republican-led state legislatures have seized on the former president's big lie that the election was stolen and introduced more than 250 bills in 43 states aimed at tightening voting rules under the guise of election integrity. Instead of doing what you should be doing when you lose an election in a democracy, attempting to win over those voters in the next election, Republicans instead are trying to disenfranchise those voters. Shame on them. In Iowa, where college students often rely on the flexibility provided by early and mail-in voting, the Republican legislature voted to cut early voting by 9 days, close polls an hour earlier, and tighten rules on absentee voting. In Wisconsin, where urban and rural precincts face vastly different administrative burdens, Republicans have proposed limiting ballot drop boxes to only one municipality, no matter what its size. Could be 10,000 voters in a rural Republican county or 500,000 voters in an urban Democratic county, one ballot drop box. In Arizona, no fewer than 22 separate measures to limit voting rights have been introduced, including a bill to require every absentee ballot to be notarized. How are poor people going to pay for a notary when there's virtually no indication of fraud? It's one of the most despicable things I have seen in all my years. Shame, shame, shame.
Damn.
He said shame 3 times. He said shame 3 times until you do right by me. So he continued and said a little bit more. Take a look.
This is infuriating. I would like to ask my Republican colleagues, why are you so afraid of democracy? Why, instead of trying to win voters over that you lost in the last election, are you trying to prevent them from voting? Our country has come a long way, supposedly, since African Americans in the South were forced to guess the number of jelly beans in a jar in order to vote. But some of these voter suppression laws in Georgia and other Republican states smack of Jim Crow rearing its ugly head once again. It is 160 years since the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments abolished slavery, and Jim Crow still seems to be with us. The laws, their various cousins in Republican state legislatures across the country, are one of the greatest threats we have to modern democracy in America. According to the Washington Post, these laws could strain every available method of voting for tens of millions of Americans, the most sweeping contradiction of ballot access in the United States since the end of Reconstruction. If one political party believes that when you lose an election, the answer isn't to win more votes, but rather to try and prevent the other side from voting, we have an existential threat to democracy on our hands. If we don't stop these vicious and often racist actions, third world autocracy like Erdogan's Turkey or Orban's Hungary will be on its way. That is why the country so badly needs S1, a bill that would combat all of these voter suppression efforts.
Senator John Ossoff also chimed in, reminding other senators and the Attorney General of Indiana, Todd Rokita, who was testifying that our elections have been conducted fairly and with integrity. Let's take a look.
I take exception to the comments that you just made, Mr. Rokita, that public concern regarding the integrity of the recent election is born of anything but a deliberate and sustained misinformation campaign led by a vain former president unwilling to accept his own defeat, who rather than observing the sacred tradition and necessary process of a peaceful transition of power for a losing candidate for the presidency, undertook a scorched earth effort to undermine public confidence in the integrity of our elections that was so dramatic and so destructive that it culminated in a violent assault on the United States Capitol. Former President Trump's own senior officials, cabinet officials, directly rebutted his meritless claims that there was any level of voter fraud that might have had a substantive impact on the outcome of the election. And I find it disturbing that a chief law enforcement officer from one of our great states would indulge in that kind of misinformation and spread those kinds of conspiracies when public confidence in the integrity of our elections is absolutely essential to sustaining our democracy. I want to turn for a moment now to the legislation before us.
A minute to respond to that?
No, you may not. I'd like to turn now for a moment to Ms. Mueller.
Senator Ossoff, just give him 30 seconds to respond.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, Senator. I mean, that's true. I mean, if we're trying to have a constructive debate, you're not adding to it by cutting people off after invoking their name. I would say that you're entitled to your opinion, as misinformed as it may be, but I share the opinion of millions of Americans. The other difference between my opinion and yours is mine comes with the ability to file lawsuits.
Well, whether our elections have been conducted with integrity is a matter of fact, not a matter of opinion.
Right. All right, there's a lot going on in those clips. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Since the Ossoff one was fresh, I want to talk about that. You know, it's funny how they'll try to bully, you know, the new ones, the young ones, the ones who, you know, standing on something. And here he is wanting to interject. No matter how much Republicans can try and fluff up something and use their words to attack and bully, it remains true. Like, there's a difference. There's fact and there's opinion. And the fact is, you guys are doing your best to suppress voting. So much has happened in history, and for us, especially Black people, my God, to be able to vote. Just hearing Chuck Schumer talk about, you know, there was once a time where you had to guess the amount of jelly beans in a jar to be able to vote is crazy, because we can go further back and talk about how people were beaten and raped to be able to vote. Fannie Lou Hamer, just hearing her story, what she had to endure to give us the right to be able to vote. All because she wanted to vote, she was beaten beaten. So these are the things that we have to go through. So when we hear about things and rules that are trying to be put in place to cause us not to vote, that's the things that come to my mind. And that's what really makes me angry. And we have to keep pushing. We have to keep fighting anything that they want to put in place because they know how powerful we are. They see how powerful we are, even during a pandemic. So.
I'm thinking about all the legislation that's coming down here in the state of Georgia. Like we're coming to the close of the legislative session here in Georgia, and they're getting ready to put into law restrictive voter suppression policies. And without the Senate abolishing the filibuster and getting the Senate version of H.R. 1 passed, Democrats are going to lose. And it's not only about Democrats losing, but it's suppressing the very people that carried this country on its shoulders in November and again on January 5th to elect Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. So black folks did our part. And because of that, we see exactly what Chuck Schumer is saying. And don't get me wrong, like I really felt what he was saying. Like I wish I had caught that clip yesterday because I would have ran it as a short breaking news video. Could have got all kinds of views because it was powerful. But here's the thing, Chuck, abolish the filibuster. Right? Because that's what's happening. That's what's the holdup right now is the fact that we're trying to play games of bipartisanship with people who would rather steal our right to vote, just snatch it away from us. And so we can't negotiate with these ideological terrorists. Republicans are ideological terrorists who incite actual terrorism, by the way, like actual factual terrorism that we saw on January 6th. But I digress. The point is that all of your words meant something to me. Thank you for saying everything that you said, Chuck Schumer. Now abolish the filibuster so we could do something about it. Otherwise, it's all just talk. It's all just, it's all just kabuki theater. And it's all for clicks. It's all for social media. And we don't have time for that because in Georgia, they are high key trying to steal our right to vote. And if you guys just sit back and let them because you're more interested in protecting the filibuster than you are protecting our right to vote, it's not only bad in the sense of morality and bad in the sense of democracy, but it's also bad politics because y'all gonna lose. You can't win without the South and black folks in the South, and that's exactly who Republicans are targeting. That's exactly who they're targeting. So. Anyway,
shame.
Where's that? We needed that clip of the woman walking through that shame.
It's funny. Like somebody sent me that clip. They snipped it as an audio file. And they sent it. I was looking for it, but I couldn't find it quick enough.
That's what we need. Shame, right. Shame. And then Ted Cruz, Eddie Monster looking ass sitting there on his phone like he could care less.
It's not important. It does not matter. It's not important because at the end of the day, exactly what Rokita had stated, what you're saying is just an opinion. And then I can definitely sue your behind for talking that talk. Don't play with me. That's the difference between me and you. You know what I mean? That's how they walk around, these Republicans. They don't get these things. They don't care about at all. Did you see? I don't know if we have that in the in our doc today for our lineup, but did you see Ted Cruz in that press meeting? And and one of the journalists told him, he said it's in there.
No, I don't know if it's in there, but I said, I saw that mess.
And he had the mask on, and he didn't have a mask on, but the journalist was like, "Can you put your mask on?" He's like, "I'm vaccinated. I'm vaccinated. That's the whole point of the vaccine." And when I'm doing my press conferences, I'm not putting on a mask. The people around me are vaccinated, but they all had on masks though.
I just want to put this out into the atmosphere for anyone who's watching. I want to make a pitch. I've made this pitch several times on Twitter, but I also want to make it here on the show. I would like to produce, and I need people with money and connections to help us. I want to produce a show that basically is Dexter. Y'all remember Dexter, where he used to go around? He was like a serial killer of serial killers. He would go out and kill bad people. I want to make a show of a serial killer of politicians who are doing things that harm people. Like if you look at what happened in Texas, that'd be perfect. Just get not Ted Cruz because we get in trouble. Let's do Fred, Cruz with an SC. Fred Cruz and Dexter, our version of Dexter gets a hold of all these politicians who are doing things that literally lead to the deaths of so many people. Like we're to the tune of 500,000 people dead in this country. I would love to see a show where we get our public purge of these fictionalized characters, not real politicians. So Dexter, but for politicians. Get at me, Netflix. I think it'll work.
Look, and with that being
made a whole ass pitch, Rebecca.
With that, yeah, and I need Netflix to hear him. But before
I'm serious. I'm gonna produce that thing.
And before Ben gets that pitch and funded for that pitch, please, you guys, definitely watch our show. But right now, we need you guys to understand we need that funding too, right here on Like It or Not. So as you guys dig through your pockets to give for
send up them super chats.
Send up those super chats on today's show. Definitely, we'll be back.
Somebody said the feds gonna come get me.
Right, I was looking for the collection, but I couldn't find it.
It's a TV show. Go ahead, Jay. Take us.
We'll be back right after this.
Good. I'm about to say what the crap. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Shout out to everybody that's here this morning, y'all. Glad to see you all. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Make sure that y'all are hitting that like button, that share button, all of that good stuff, man. So you know what Like It or Not is going on, y'all. Welcome again to another episode. Hope you're enjoying it thus far. Good morning, Justice. Good morning, Mama. Sensation, good morning to you. Brother Latif, Chuck D. So, good morning. Goku. Power up, brother. Good morning.
It's never ending. Can't give you what you need. You're misbehaving. Yeah, it's getting to me.
Nat M, good morning. Nat A, good morning. Alicia, good morning, man.
Give anything so you can go, yeah. So I can focus, I just need to focus.
Courtney, good morning. Melanie, good morning. Mara, good morning. Latif, good morning, good morning. Mama Pina, it's Get a 9, good morning, y'all.
This is what I want now. And yeah, I'm waiting for something better. This is what I want
In the scene, good morning. Red Brand, good morning. Daniel, good morning.
Getting to me. It's never ending. Can't give you what you need. Oh no.
Melanie, good morning, good morning.
Yeah, it's getting to me. It's never ending. You can give anything, so you can go.
Vegeta, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Brenda, good morning. Marquez, good morning, y'all. Shout out to everybody that's watching us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, yeah, anybody where you streaming from, we appreciate y'all.
I just need to focus on myself.
Brenda, good morning.
You can go. So I can focus, I just need to focus.
Susan, good morning. DB, Edward, good morning, y'all.
You better go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going back to Dixon and Rebecca, y'all.
Welcome back to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth and not care who doesn't like it. Joining us now is Dr. Nicholas Freudenberg. He is a public health practitioner who currently serves as a distinguished professor at the City University of New York School of Public Health. His latest book is At What Cost? Modern Capitalism and the Future of Health. Dr. Freudenberg, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
The pleasure is ours. I actually have the copy of the book with me right here, and as I've been pouring through it, you don't pull any punches in terms of how you diagnose the root cause of our most deadly public health problems, from heart disease, cancer, to the degrees in which communities are experiencing more serious cases of asthma, mental health crises. You tie this really back to the fundamental problem of capitalism. Could you tell us about the book and your thesis there?
Sure. So we've had the horrible opportunity, those of us living through this period, of watching really one public health crisis after another cascade on the world. Certainly the COVID pandemic, which we've seen, but also the climate emergency, the so-called deaths of despair of less educated older men from opioids and alcohol and other drugs and guns. And we've seen the continuing stark inequalities in health outcome among Blacks and other people of color and whites. And I wrote this book to try and understand what are the common causes of these this cascade of public health crises, of public health apocalypses facing the world in the first part of the 21st century. And if we can identify and understand some common causes, what might we do? And in the book, I present what I concluded, which is that the changes in 21st century capitalism, the growing corporate globalization of the world, the movement of viruses and unhealthy products and pollution around the world, often in order to make a profit, the financialization of our economy that leads governments and corporations together to privatize previously public services in order to increase profits, to cut wages. A story that's been in the news lately is the buy-up of long-term care facilities and nursing homes by private equity. What do once they buy them up? They cut staffing in order to increase profits. And that is a big cause of the high death rate of older people and staff in nursing homes and long-term care facilities in COVID. And a third dimension of 21st century capitalism is the increasing control of science and technology by corporations. And so they end up benefit rather than humanity. In the book, I talk about how the food industry has created a diet, a very profitable diet that happens to now be the leading cause of premature death and preventable illness. The fossil fuel industry has come up with a way of providing energy that is disrupting the lives of so many people. And my book argues that by understanding the common causes, the roots of these problems, we can begin to make the modifications, both incremental and more radical, more transformative in our political and economic systems to really ensure that we have a healthy, sustainable world for our children and our grandchildren and the people we care about.
You know, as I was reading the book, from an ideological perspective, I identify as a socialist, and a lot of my audience, they're radical. And so just the premise of the book itself, we're like, yeah. But as I'm reading it, you don't do it so much from an ideological perspective, hardly at all. You do it from data, you do it from facts, and you're building a case based on solid evidence. Could you talk about the evidence, and even if you juxtapose it with ideology, but I think your evidence speaks more than ideology here.
Yes, and I think that the advances in public health over the last 2 centuries have come when researchers and social movements together connect the daily experiences, the lived experiences of ordinary people with political and economic systems. And I try and understand what are those connections using the research evidence and my almost 40 years of experience doing public health work in low-income communities to make those connections and then to look at, so what can we do about it? So to give an example, a lot of my work is around food. I think we've seen the development of what some people call the ultra-processed diet, a diet high in fat, sugar, salt, with really hundreds of additives, preservatives, stabilizers, and other things added. And this diet was developed because it's extremely profitable for the dozen or so global corporations that control the food industry: Nestle, Unilever, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Kellogg's. We all know the names if we ever go in a supermarket. And they found that this highly processed industrial diet made it easier for them to organize and control agriculture, the food production and distribution process, food retailing through giant stores like Walmart and Whole Foods. It really gave them control over the whole food system. And the diet was easy to ship around the world, to leave on shelves, to market, not just in one place, but around the world, to move into undersold markets like Black and Latinx communities where not as many people were buying it. And so now more than half the calories in the United States constitute this ultra-processed diet. And sad to say, the research evidence shows that it is this ultra-processed diet that is associated with the dramatic increase here in the United States, but also around the world, of diabetes, cancer, heart disease, high blood pressure, and more recently of COVID infection, illness, and deaths. So the diet that is good for the global food industry is making us and our children and grandchildren sick. And so the question is, if we want to improve the world's health, we need to figure out a strategy for changing that diet.
And that's actually what your book also, you not only diagnose the problem, but you also offer some solutions. What are some of the strategies that you believe that should be employed in order for us to make, you said, both incremental change, but also radical change and structural change?
Yes, I'll talk about two or three to give an illustration. One is, I believe we need to expand the public sector in our economy and shrink the private for-profit sector. And again, to stick with food, but I also talk about healthcare and education and transportation. In food, actually, taxpayers spend a lot of public money on food. There's the SNAP program, about $70 billion a year. There are school meal programs. And then there are, of course, all the subsidies that the U.S. Department of Agriculture gives to the corn and sugar and soy industries, precisely the industries that produce the raw ingredients for ultra-processed foods. So we're spending a lot of public money on food, but that money isn't being addressed to the public good. Instead, corporations have found a way to get that money back to themselves. And whether that's through the SNAP expenditures for Coca-Cola, or whether it's the agricultural subsidies to Archer Midland and the other big agricultural companies, it's the tax policies that have made it easy for corporations not to pay taxes, whereas middle-income folks like you and me end up having to pay our taxes. And that leads to, I think, the second strategy, which is to look at democracy. You know, in your previous segment, you were talking about democracy. We cannot reclaim our health unless we reclaim our democracy. So I think it's limiting lobbying, limiting dark money, insisting on voter rights and voter registration. And when ordinary people, when the majority have a voice in our democracy, then the efforts of corporations to undermine public health policies will be more difficult.
I'm just thinking about all the different ways since all of us were born, we have been almost commodified in terms of how we didn't even, I'm 40 years old, and every stage of every part of my life has been infected with these corporate organizations that have control over our complete diet. Because we can't even go to a grocery store. We can't get food in this country without literally getting it from one of these major organizations that have a vested interest in creating products that harm us because it generates a bigger profit for them. What do you say to a person like me, individuals who are coming to grips with this? Because what do we do when everything on our grocery shelf, just about everything on our grocery shelf, is a part of this problem? What do you say to individuals who want to do something about this?
Right. And just to be clear, what we're talking about now around food, in the book, I talk about 6 pillars of health, the essentials for well-being for individuals and communities. So food, healthcare, education, work, transportation, and then also social connections. How do we connect to other people? And in each of these, just as you've said, the big corporations have commodified our needs for a healthy life and look to make money on it. And when their need to make money conflicts with our well-being, that's the path they choose. So I think we learned a very powerful lesson from the women's movement of the 60s and 70s, and from other movements too. And that is that the personal is political and the political is personal. And we need to find ways to connect the options we have for food and healthcare and education with the political activism that looks to change the policies that limit our choices to what's good for corporations and limit our choices to what's good for us. Our public policies, in our towns and our cities, in our states and in the nation should make healthy choices easy choices. But in so many cases, in food, in social media, which could be a way to connect to other people, what's the easy choice is one that makes some corporation rich and ends up endangering our health. And I think in the book, I look at, so who's been successful? And I think we've seen communities like Philadelphia, Oakland, Berkeley, Seattle that have developed taxes on sugary beverages, a key ingredient that contributes to dietary disease and that drives the inequities in health among less well-off and better-off people and among Blacks, whites, and Latinos. And those taxes generate revenues that go back to communities to, in the case of Philadelphia, to pay for childcare. In the case of Berkeley, to improve the public water system so that the healthy choice, water, is available in every school, in every public park. Right. And so parents, voters, community residents need to be looking for and supporting those efforts that will return to us the right to make choices about our health and diminish the right of corporations to structure those choices so only what makes them rich is available to us.
Wow. Dr. Freudenberg, thank you so much for coming on the program. The name of the book is At What Cost? Modern Capitalism and the Future of Health. Please pick it up anywhere you could pick up books and definitely take a read, because I think it has a significant impact on what we need to be doing for the future. Before we go, just tell everyone how they can connect with you or any other message that you want to leave with them.
Sure. I think there are many organizations in every community that are doing this work. I'm at the CUNY School of Public Health. My email is nick.freudenberg@SPH, School of Public Health, sph.cuny.edu. And I'm happy to talk to people who are who want to learn more about what's going on in their community. And I really thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about this book.
Oh, no, the pleasure is ours. Dr. Freudenberg, good luck with the book. James, take a short break. When we come back, more Like It or Not, right after this.
All right, people, good morning again. Hope you enjoyed the show thus far. Y'all make sure that y'all hit that like button, share, comment, subscribe. Do everything that you can. Y'all make sure that you know when Like It or Not is going down.
Round the corner, maybe it's
tonight, but yes, I give y'all a little old school feel this morning a little bit. Chuck Diesel, once again, everybody's not responsible for any damages that you may incur in the living room while you're dancing or trotting around. Please make sure that you move all of your furniture and enjoy yourself. Thank you.
Cause I'll be the best. I draw the line at getting undressed. Oh, I can sing, I can dance, I can learn the slow moves. I would do anything you ask me to.
Always go food.
Jump out on the stage, get locked up in a cage. Mr. Director, I will do anything you want me to do. Hey, Mr. Director, anything for you.
Seven, sweetheart, good morning.
I can sing, I can dance, I can sing, I can dance, I can learn the slow moves. I will do anything you ask me to do. Jump out on the stage, get locked up in a cage.
Lonzy, good morning, good morning.
I won't be back, you'll see me no more, no. You better leave me alone.
Yeah, thank you for your super chat. That's right. Please dance responsibly.
For me there ain't no other, but you just couldn't be bothered. You never knew what love is about. It gets me 'cause there ain't no doubt. There is something about you. Thought I was nothing without you. You made me beg and you made me crawl. You played me and you made me fall for you. It's sad but true. You're no good, still I'm loving you.
Lisa Noel, good morning, good morning.
I'm gonna pack my bags up, walk out the door. I won't be back, you'll see me no more, no.
Hey, Justice, you can reach me. You
better leave me alone.
ANT@gmail.com.
You. I don't know why, just know that I do. Please leave me alone. I'm gonna miss you, but I'll be gone. You know I don't wanna fight ya, but there is something about ya.
Kimberly Frazier, good morning, good morning.
You wanna scream and shout. You left me hanging down.
Shout out Gwen, Mama Gwen in the room somewhere. She's been real quiet this morning. Mama Gwen, y'all right?
But you cheated and deceived me.
Edward Green, good morning.
Cared for me at all. You had me at your beck and call. It's true, I'm a sucker for you. You're no good, still I'm loving you. But I made up my mind. I'm
sorry, Daniel, good morning. Justice, baby better DJ X3C on Twitter or Instagram. Just send me a message on DJ X3C on Twitter or Instagram.
You better leave me alone. I miss you, but I'm taking back. Oh yeah. When I get you back, oh yeah.
Brian Smith, good morning, good morning.
When it comes to you and me, there's no one else I'd rather be. Baby, I won't let you down. I'd rather
Pandora, good morning, good morning.
when you're around.
Nice.
Oh, please say that you believe it. 'Cause I don't
Who did?
lose you.
When I got the shot,
You feel that way too.
she's like, yeah.
No, I don't want to.
She's like, first let me give you a paper towel.
Don't go.
I'm like, help I know it's shining.
When I get you back,
Just
oh
get this
yeah.
goddamn needle in my arm and leave me alone.
When I get you back, oh yeah. get you back, oh yeah. Oh, when I get you back, oh yeah.
Yeah, right.
Cause I don't wanna lose you. I hope you feel that way too.
Hey, so.
No, I don't wanna lose you. Baby, don't go.
Yo, welcome back, Ben and Rebecca. Yo.
When I get you back, oh yeah.
Our best stuff be behind the scenes, man. It's
y'all hear what they be saying in my ear. Y'all know why I just be on screen cracking the hell
we were talking about the range of the show because we started off extremely ratchet this morning with Derrick Jackson and his whole ass thing.
But is that ratchet though? Just because there is a certain demographic that may not know who he is, we are actually educating them that this too happens in our community.
And then we go to Professor Freudenberg, and I'm like, yeah, well, you think about the ideological perspective, Professor, and because the book is really good and it's important. I'm just talking about the range of the show.
And if he is married, sis, if he said he's separated, he married. Run.
Then I'm talking about producing stuff where we we Dexter some politicians like this,
and we talking about the vaccines. Get your vaccine because it's very important so that you do not give other people COVID-19.
And then before the end of the show, I'm sure we're going to be talking about twerking in some form or fashion. It's not a complete episode. Wait, no, we started off there because Bubba was talking about he was on top of cars, on top of the hoods.
He was giving us Miami after that vaccine.
I was giving Miami teas. Yeah. I was happy, excited. That's what it was.
Oh man, but shout out to Professor Freudenberg because the book is like, do you really pause and think about it? Like, you can't even go to a grocery store and not get something that's just full of poison because it makes some companies a whole lot of money. And you think about it from that perspective, it's like, man, we all have been hostage in this country since the time we were born. Literally.
Man, whether it comes to them fattening us up in a bad way, or where it comes
in the
to
wrong
starving
places.
us. Yes, in the wrong places, because I'm still trying to get it right up in here. But yeah, whether it comes to them fattening us up or if starving us or making us sick, it's like they don't care because what's so funny? What benefits them is, okay, we done fed them the poison. Now they're going to go to the hospital. These doctors get this money. These hospitals get this money. And now we're going to give them these drugs that probably won't do anything for them, but they get that money too. And then
side effects.
Yeah. And then after that, if they possibly die, those insurance companies get the money, and then it's just your life really doesn't matter. That's why a lot of times, growing up, we had our garden in the back of our house. So if anybody got sick, we'll go pull some leaves off the tree, and my mom will make some kind of concoction, some Haitian concoction, with some Haitian rum in it as a kid, and give it to you, and then whatever, or the tomatoes, the lemons, the lemon balm, the sugar cane. We had all of that in our backyard.
Wait, they giving you alcohol as a kid?
It's normal for Caribbean families. It is very normal. You go to a Haitian party, they are giving you the Haitian fruit punch, I think our rum punch, and then they give it to you so you can go sit down and get out their business. And you'll be asleep. You'll be asleep at some point. It's not that they're giving you so much. They'll give you the cup. You ever see like parents give their kids like cup to taste soda or something? We're tasting rum.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm not gonna lie. I have been extremely tempted to give Jeremiah just a little sip of Hennessy at night, because if I can't get that boy to go to sleep here soon, like I'm telling, like he be going to sleep at. I haven't done it, but I've thought about it.
I'm not a mom, but I have done it to my nephews. I had Jediah who just could not sleep as a baby. Josiah was a really good one, but Jediah, he just would look at you, eyes is eating up, like he was just tired. And I was like, I can't do it anymore. I can't. My brothers is leaving me with these kids. I'm just tired. So I put a little bit of rum, just a tiny bit, in his milk. And that baby laid out. My brother,
you about to go to jail. Don't say you can't make these kind of confessions on air. They go.
How'd you get him to sleep? I'm Haitian. This is normal. How'd you get him to sleep?
Yeah, but you in America, they're gonna call DCS on you. But they.
I didn't say I was in America at the time this was done.
There you go. Okay, it was
right.
across the waters. It was like 20 years ago.
That's all the time.
Ooh,
Yeah.
but he
Not my
slept.
dad.
I'll tell you that. My brother was very excited, and I think it helped him start sleeping after that. I didn't have to continuously give him the rum. It just kind of like helped him understand, oh, sleep feels good. I need this. So
one of my best friends said melatonin for the kids.
my mama and my daddy used to literally hit us with melatonin.
Melatonin.
Get out their face.
But mama was good. Mama used to give us put rum on our gums when we were baby, so to help with the teething and then knock our ass out. It worked.
You
good.
see, it's to me that's equivalent. That's the same thing. That's the same thing.
Well, see, and this is my thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
I'll say Tylenol and Benadryl.
It's alcohol in there.
Oh, y'all don't want to sit down? Hey, come in. I got some candy drink for y'all. It's called Tylenol.
Yeah. No, because what I was gonna say, like, man, I'm about to become a very fierce advocate for marijuana, because, man, alcohol and cigarettes, like the fact that alcohol and cigarettes are legal in this country and weed isn't, is just like the most unbelievable thing to me. Because when you haven't drank and you go back and you take a sip of that alcohol, that is poison. Alcohol, and then cigarettes at every single store, at every single corner, that is straight poison. And I think that's like what Dr. Freudenberg is kind of talking about. It's like the stuff that is the most profitable to these corporations is the stuff that they package and sell to us, but it's literally the stuff that's killing us, like just destroying our lives. Meanwhile, we can't even smoke weed in Georgia without Cobb County police, trying to arrest you. But anyway, I digress. What else?
Still do it though. It's crazy.
Wait. Especially in Fulton County. Fulton County ain't got no shame. You'd be sitting.
I don't know about Fulton County. I feel like in Fulton County they have to drive to a certain area of in Fulton County because.
I'm talking about the black side of Fulton County, obviously.
Okay, I was gonna say the black side because I know
because they be rolling up in the clubs. It don't be matter. Like just you go.
Yeah, in the clubs they don't. I don't think they really care. I don't even think it's like really policed as they say. When outside the door of the club is very much policed.
When you get in there,
when you get in there, they're just like whatever's happening in there happens in there.
It's just whole tables of weed.
You step outside this door, it's gonna be. I cannot do the club when they're smoking weed. I can't believe I used to do that before. My weave used to smell like a pound every time.
That's the best smell in the world. What you?
I'm like, no, not when I'm going to church the next morning in college.
It's a cigarette smell that stinks. Like
I don't smoke cigarettes, and I know they don't smoke cigarettes in the club, but it's that weed, and I'm over here like it's inside of my sew-in because I can't. I gotta go. It's too much. Imagine it being inside of your sew-in. You're going to church on Sunday. It's still in your sew-in while you go interview people at the Capitol in Tallahassee. It just was a lot. Okay? Yeah. So, anywho, I digress.
Well, I mean, I do have to I do have to wash my beard really, really, really good but I don't have that problem that you have. So I understand. But
I don't even have a problem with my beard that much. Look.
Yeah, nothing to smell like loud in the morning. Anyway, go ahead, Rebecca. What you got on?
You guys have beards. I had a sew-in. Listen to me, guys. A sew-in.
We get it.
It's in the braid underneath the sew-in. You can't get up in there. So well, since we're still on this this wave this morning, I want to go ahead and drag Meghan McCain. It seems like she has been blind to her privilege on Wednesday. So that was yesterday on ABC's The View. Meghan McCain made a very interesting point about identity politics and the qualifications for being the host of The View. Let's take a look at what she said.
Excluded women farmers. And so we're going to a place where even if people need money, even if people are qualified to get into Ivy Leagues, race and gender is more important than your skill qualifications, the content of your character. It is not what Martin Luther King Jr. preached. I think this is a very slippery slope. I was very surprised to hear someone like Tammy Duckworth say something like this. She got a lot of blowback from a lot of people, not just on the right. And I think this is actually just the natural progression of identity politics. And I will say, just to put a cap on this, The View is 25 years old next year. We've only had one Asian American co-host this show. So does that mean that one of us should be leaving at some point because there's not enough representation? We're talking about, is identity politics more important than qualifications of a job? And I think that's a question going forward that the progressive left is going to have to reconcile.
Okay, and before we go, because we're going to go and take a break, eventually we're going to come back and talk about the black farmer.
Like
Whoopi don't be stunting her, man.
Whoopi does not at all.
Right. At this point, Whoopi every time that Meghan McCain speaks, she just. Okay, so we're gonna have more after this, or the fact that she said we're at some point in this show we're gonna get before this show is over, before today's show is over, we will be talking about those black farmers.
See, and then that's what she tried to tie. She tried to tie that black farmer story to identity politics and trying to make it seem like these black farmers didn't deserve what they get. That said, there is nobody more unqualified on television than Meghan McCain. She literally has no skill set other than being the daughter of John McCain. In fact, I wish we had that clip of every time she speaks, she says, as the daughter of John McCain,
my dad created Arizona, so I am qualified because my dad, do you know John McCain? My dad created Arizona. Do you know where that is on the map in the United States? Do you know? So that qualifies me to be right here on The View. And first of all, every time she does this, April said something. It's funny. April Rain. Shouts out to April Rain. She had tweeted out. She was like, every time. She's like, no. Shouts out to Meghan McCain's hairstylist because she wakes up and she chooses violence every time. And this is how I feel about that. I thought it was funny for something totally different because I feel like every time Meghan McCain comes through with something, to me, she's giving urban hairstyles. And talking as this white woman who has this, white privilege, but she's giving big urban hairstyles to me. Y'all see me on here. I do my ponytails. I do my pigtails. That braid down the middle that you were just laughing at, that's giving dinosaur on her head. I've worn that hairstyle multiple times.
Like a whole ass velociraptor.
But I've done that though, where the braid is down the middle because that is an urban hairstyle with the piercings in it or the jewels in it. That's an urban hairstyle. So you sit here and you bash a lot of these identity politics and things like that. But sis, you're saying that you should somebody be off the show? Should you be off the show because there's only one Asian American in the history of The View? We all said yes, and that was something that we didn't rehearse because that we understand that you should be off because you're not qualified. When you first got on, everybody knew you weren't qualified, but you still stayed because of your namesake. You know what I mean? So, and you learn politics throughout the way. Now, I can't say. Because a lot of people say that I am not qualified to be.
Don't even go down that road. Don't even go down that road.
I'm going to go there. But what I'm saying is I am. I've had the history. I've done this. I've had, the learning, the school.
Got the degrees.
I got the degrees. But even outside of that, I got the street knowledge, right? Even outside of that, I'm just me. Now, I fit this position. I would never go somewhere where I don't belong. Now, and I'm not saying that Meghan McCain doesn't belong here, but she's using her white privilege to say, just because somebody's black or white, we can't give them that doesn't qualify them. Like why should we look at this black person who has a master's degree who fits the description of what we're looking for? Because why should we look at them? Because we need somebody black, especially in this ridiculous idea of diversity and inclusion. If we're gonna run with that and walk with that whole thing, then yes, on The View, if we're looking for a black person, we're gonna look for the best person who fits it that happens to be a black woman on The View. What do you have, Meghan McCain? Sweetie.
Her father.
And that is it.
That's it.
That is it. Your namesake, which is white privilege, Karen stuff.
Period. Think about Whoopi Goldberg. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Whoopi, but Whoopi been on the scene. I think first time I saw Color Purple was the first time I really found out who Whoopi Goldberg was. Like, she has been a part of American culture since before Meghan McCain was born. And can you think about what it must just irritate someone who has that level of experience, expertise in media in general, to have to put up with a trust fund, unqualified, highly mediocre individual like Meghan McCain just sitting there and asserting her opinion as if it is, one, a qualified opinion, and then two, as if she's actually saying something good. Because it would be different if Meghan was actually like a prodigy with how she thinks and what she says. She gets up there and says a whole bunch of stupid stuff, and yet everybody on the stage has to put up with it because her father was John McCain. That's the ultimate identity politics, is when you can go all the way to the top of this country with no talent whatsoever based on who your daddy was.
And it's funny because that show at one point was really leaning right at some point, right? And then you got these women of color coming on, and especially at a time where talking about racial issues, you know, we needed to have a Black person in the room. And now, like, the view has been taken over by women of color. So, and now even the white folks that are OG on there, they had to step up and be like, you know, adjust themselves and how they were carrying themselves. Meghan McCain thinks that she can still utilize this conservative, this hard right
she thinks
mindset. Yeah, because she think that that's what's going to still get her where she needs to be. Her being dragged, especially her being, you know, a millennial or whatever, her being dragged way down, like her being dragged from where she was when she first got on there thinking that, oh, I'm just going to sit around here, say my little disrespectful comments, especially like yesterday's comment to me was very disrespectful because it had a lot of racist undertones to it, like period. Like, you're white and you're there is no qualifications for you. So are you speaking to yourself? Because you literally are saying just because somebody is Asian or Black doesn't mean, and that's not what qualifies any of the people that have been on The View. And when have you seen a person of color on The View that did not have the background necessary to have that position?
That's it.
When?
I like that.
But these white people can come on and literally just be unqualified, no background, and just have a seat. These white women and just have a seat. So when she said what she said, it to me, it had a big racist. It gave big racist energy.
Who is the most unqualified host to ever have graced the stage of The View? Meghan McCain. So shut the hell up, sis. Get your check. And stop actually setting yourself up for even more failure by exposing exactly how mediocre you are, because you are the least qualified person to ever sit on that stage. And yet you're sitting there complaining in the most Karenist of all Karenism that I have ever seen in my life, talking about somebody not being qualified. Look in the goddamn mirror. Look in the mirror. Damn.
What
else you got, Rebecca?
No, that's it. Then
Looking in the mirror.
Oh, Meg, if I see you in these streets,
they keep saying identity politics like they got something. Oh, if we just say it's identity politics, we could break it down and be like, because underneath that is the fact that they don't really believe that we're qualified. And that if any Black person, a brown person, or Asian person gets in a position, it's because they don't think, particularly Black folks, y'all don't think that we qualified. I would pick a random Black person off the street underneath any shade tree, and I guarantee you they will give you a more robust analysis. I don't care if they had just got off a whole 3 blunts and a 6-pack of whatever their favorite drink is. They will be more qualified at this than Meghan McCain, because in this country, Black folks have always, time and time again, had to be 10 times better than these mediocre white people who get all the money in this country.
Yep. Look at the content they produce. No shade to nobody. But look at the content they produce. Every morning I get up and I do this because I want to do it, right? And I've learned that I no longer want to be in a box that, mainstream media puts me in. But I watched my colleagues who did the same job as me just walk into the room, have the work done for them, and they really have to do no work and leave. Me, I'm required to do 10 times more because of the shade of my skin, because of how I do my thing. Right now, if you go to a white show who does exactly what we do right here, exactly what we do, they're funded differently. They move differently. And even if, and I'm not saying that they're not qualified, but we do 6 more jobs than that. And we, even without the money, y'all, even without the money, we're still here doing that, in which we deserve our space and we deserve our time. We do not. And so when I hear Meg McCain say those kind of things, and I watch these other networks or whatever on YouTube or whatever on CNN or whatever, or whoever's, take their places, knowing that they had no qualifications whatsoever, it really irks me. It irks my nerves, because history in media, history in women's talk shows showed us that it had to be the best Black person to even make an appearance when the
sitting next
when the
to
hosts
some
were all
mediocre
white.
ass.
When the hosts were all white saying nothing, and they had to reach for the best black person to come on, and it took for that to be okay. Now that we know that black people can do stuff, they never. It's like, come on now, guys, we're here, we're good. We're most times the best because we have to do 6 jobs. So we do have a little bit more knowledge at times, and we do have a little bit more drive at times because it's required of us. You think if I had it easy that I would just come on and give y'all all I had every morning? No, I don't have it easy. I don't. That's true. No, y'all don't pay, and I'm not trying to smash y'all or whatever, but y'all don't pay us. So it's like we really come here with all we got for real, with the genuineness of our hearts. You know what I mean? So, and that's on that. I don't need look. Y'all got me going. Send up them super chats.
Did you just patch it?
Send up them super chats.
Oh man.
Anywho.
That's that on that. I just, it's the lay of the land. And it's always been the lay of the land. I've been doing this for 6 years. It's the lay of the land. Like we do have to do 10 times as much to get a fraction of it. And it's to
get looked at. To get looked at.
Yeah.
It's literally ridiculous. Like I go on Pinterest and I look for in order for me to look at black people, anything, I have to type in urban.
Yeah, that's the thing. You got to type
everything comes up white.
Here's a perfect example, and I think everybody can see this. Take a look at a person doing a dance. Let's just get a general example. A black person who does a dance, right? And they're the originator of that post on social media, let's say TikTok. And then you just get a random white person to do the same dance, not even half as good. They did it, but they did it. And that person builds an entire career, well-funded career off of the exact same thing that they just took from that sister or that brother who did it. And that's just, this is the kind of privilege that Meghan McCain exists in.
Look at her hair.
Because she could, look like she literally is able to sit there and make millions of dollars every year with the most mediocre of opinions, the most unqualified takes, and just downright nasty attitude that just is unbecoming of a human being, let alone a host that is supposed to facilitate a conversation to engage the United States in. And yet she gets the entire bag. And now she has the unmitigated gall to turn around and say, oh, well, they're not qualified identity politics. So anyway, put up that Velociraptor on her haircut. Put that up on the screen one more time.
I ain't knocking her hair. I ain't knocking her hair.
I'm sorry.
That's very urban.
I'm knocking it. Damn,
you keep saying what is
it's very urban of her.
Urban of her? That's what she would say?
Yes.
That's what she would say.
Yeah.
And then somebody said in the chat room, nobody said anything about the bedazzled craft herpes 13-year-old in the 90s eyeshadow. I see it.
See, here's the thing. Now, here's the thing, y'all.
Diamonds in the corners.
Y'all are.
Here's the thing. I like her eye makeup. I like her hair. I feel like it's, the ponytail could have been higher to give that level. But at the end of the day, I've rocked that hairstyle. Like I said, she's rocking urban styles. Even her jewelry. Yes, in the 90s, that was the thing. It's not her look for me. It's her nastiness, everything that comes out of her mouth. So it makes everything that she has on, it makes her an easy target for us to chew apart, for us to drag. It definitely does. But
do you like the hair? Is that what you're saying? You like the hair?
Yeah, no, I like her hair. I like her look, but it's just not, I don't like what she says. She has a nasty attitude, and that's what we see first. That's what we hear first.
All I see is
I like the hair. I don't like the hair on her.
Yeah.
That's all I hear is like she go, she's trying to use her claws to open up the door on Jurassic Park. That's all I see. So anyway,
I can't laugh at the hairstyle because I've rocked that a few times. So
I like the hairstyle, but just not on
Somebody
her.
said she looked like a mix between a Velociraptor and a Cleon from Star Trek.
She do.
I don't know what a Cleon is. Okay, leave her alone. Leave her alone.
Oh wait, now you want to leave her alone.
Now you want to defend her. Take her to a break.
Y'all know she's gonna be crying on the next episode. She's gonna be crying.
They talked about my hair. It's not. You're never gonna make fetch a thing, Meghan McCain. You're never gonna make fetch a thing. James, take us to a quick break. When we come back, we got a whole lot more to cover. More guests coming up. More topics. More shenanigans. More likely than not after this.
Baby,
Ooh.
like the world is on a slide. Nothing can bring me down tonight. And ooh, baby,
the chat is going ham right
together,
now.
you and I, your touch sends chills down my spine. Alright, hey, I got a brand new love. Take me away, girl, to a new level, new level. It's 7 on earth, on earth.
Make sure that y'all hit that like button. Y'all hit that like button. Say hit the like button. Danny, I got you. Justice, okay.
Travel far and wide just to see how your halo shines so bright. Ooh, baby, did you fall from paradise? Wherever we go, I'm on cloud 9, so high. Yeah.
Black Magic, shout out for the Stallions who dropped.
Take me away, girl, to a new level, new level.
All right, make sure that you go ahead and share, comment, subscribe, y'all, so you know when Like It or Not is going down. Make sure that we get these algorithms changed up, because you know how they like to switch up stuff, man.
I found my angel. Come on. I found my angel. Found my angel. I got a brand new love. You take me away, girl, to a new level, new level. It's 7 on earth.
I'm the boss to the boss cause I sign the checks. Got the new Balenciagas and I step on next. Get you a girl that can do both. Set up the meaning, the sex on the table. Able to get the job done. Giuseppe while I hold my son. Got booty that's on Houston. Whitney, everything in one. I will never go to jail when I spit these bars. Cause I'm a real G, I'ma take that charge. Only real charge that I know is black cards. Money long, up to Mars. Fridays I'm pulling out. Little ratchet, just for now.
Kendrick. Yeah, I think it was Kendrick Lamar. Oh, y'all just see, y'all know they asked me what was the last concert I went to. I think it was either Kendrick or Kanye. Yes, I was at the Kanye concert. Started it over like twice.
Throw your hands up,
hilarious.
100 bands up. We don't take no days off. Then I drop it downtown with it, down with it. Drop it to the ground with it, ground with it. Hands up, ladies, throw your hands up. Throw them bands up and don't ask what's in the cup while I bring it downtown with it, down with it. Drop it to the ground with it, ground with it.
Purple Rain Hearts, you know it's the truth.
Up in the phantom with the gang, don't need the bandana. Got my girls, I'm a winner, and we slay, don't need the damn center. Raise your hand if you're a winner. That was cute, but I can buy my own dinner. Tonight, I don't care if I'm a sinner.
Shout out Sensation, y'all, who doesn't like Beyonce, who's about to get cut off.
Monday, go back to the boss. Turn these M's to some B's. I don't care what it costs. You a boss if you're listening today. Roll your eyes, break it down, cause we don't play. Fridays, I'm pulling out. Fridays, I'm pulling out.
Yeah, Lonzo, we know this is definitely not Beyonce. We were talking about Beyonce earlier in conversation today. That was the last concert I went to.
Down with it, drop it to the ground with it, ground with it. Hands up, ladies, throw your hands up. Throw them bands up and don't ask what's in the cup while I bring it downtown with it, down with it. Drop it to the ground with it, ground with it.
It was just a misunderstanding. You waited in the rain for hours, and I couldn't say the right things. Now
Sophia, you don't care for who? Y'all, all right, y'all. Don't y'all start talking about Beyonce like that. Y'all just not gonna have the beehive swarming over here. So that's that we not gonna do. Calm down. Beyonce. Your best friend. I wanna be around you all kind of other music besides any and everything else.
You don't need to worry. I meant everything I said. You don't have to search no more. Love is all around, so baby, what's your hurry? You don't have to prove us to anyone. You don't need to worry. Go down low, baby. Go down low, honey. Go down low, baby. Go down, baby, give it.
Yes, the bees are definitely here. I appreciate it, Sophia. I appreciate it. Huh? Oh, I thought y'all lost me.
Now I'm including you in my whole world. With you, I'm so transparent. You tear down every wall that I built up. Now I wanna let you know that everything about you.
Y'all know I will.
I wanna be your best friend.
Right.
Your best friend. I wanna be around you all the time. You don't understand. You don't need to worry. I mean everything I said. You don't have to search no more. Love is all around. So baby, what's your hurry?
Right.
You don't have to prove us to anyone. You don't
Rebecca,
need to
you need to still sing me that Haitian music, Rebecca. Could have mixed it in with this. Y'all, Benjamin Dixon.
Welcome back to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth and not care who doesn't like it. Joining me now is Councilman Khalid. He is a South Fulton City Council member from District 6 and a candidate for mayor. He is also a Black Lives Matter activist and just all-around dope brother. How you doing? You want to make sure that we see that shirt.
Black on
purpose. That's hoodie. Man, how you doing this morning, brother?
Great.
Well, I mean, yeah, great to have you. Tell us about the sweatshirt.
Yeah, you got. Hey, so I'm running for mayor. A lot of people are not aware of the city of South Fulton. We are Atlanta's new twin city. We are 100 square miles, 100,000 people with a $100 million budget, and with a 90% African American population. We are now the blackest city in America. A lot of people that you associate with Atlanta, from the late, great Congressman John Lewis to Candy, from the housewives I went to high school with, to 2 Chainz. All of these people live in the city of South Fulton. And my goal is to make America's blackest city black on purpose, which means that in every policy that we enact, in everything that we do, we're asking, how does this benefit, or how can this improve the lives of Black people? Because we know if we can improve the lives of 90% of our people, we can improve the lives of everyone in the city. And so it started off as a campaign slogan, and it just became, people saw me wearing, and they're like, oh, where can I get a shirt? So there's now a shop coming online, Black on Purpose .shop, where people can buy this merchandise.
Man, I've been following you for some years. Actually, since I moved to Atlanta, I got familiar with you and your work and your campaign and your efforts. Tell us just a little. I mean, you're gonna hang out with us for the rest of the show. But before we start talking about other stories, I still want to dig in a little bit more into you as an individual. Tell us about what has driven you, because you came up the ranks. You've been out in the streets. You've been at protests. You've led protests. I mean, civil disobedience, and then you transitioned from the streets into this position on the council, city council here in South Fulton. Tell us about that transition and what's driving you not only to continue, because just because you're in this position, you haven't stopped your activism either.
Oh, no. Actually, tomorrow I will be headed to Birmingham. I'll be there with Bernie and some other folks rallying for Amazon workers. I started off in politics as a union worker. I did music. I went to film school, so I was really into the arts. And my mom's, who passed, she was like, "You got to get a job with good benefits. You know, just have a job. You know." And so I started. I was climbing telephone poles, and then I started driving buses for MARTA. Every job that I've ever had, the best benefits that I've ever had have all been union jobs. And in 2015, MARTA decided, MARTA is the transit authority here. They decided they were going to start outsourcing departments to break up and get around the union contract. Mm-hmm. I saw people, we were in, I was a paratransit driver, you know, the short bus drivers. And we were in a trailer and you got vested with a retirement and pension after 10 years. I saw people with 9 years and 10 months, 2 months away from having a pension, lose their pension. I saw grown folks crying because they were going to lose not only their health insurance, but that good union health insurance they had for their entire family. And around that time, there's this old white guy from Vermont named Bernie Sanders who was talking about how corporations were getting out of control. So I went and joined his campaign. Then I started working for Stacey Abrams. I got involved with the Black Lives Matter movement and helped found the chapter here in Atlanta. And actually 5 years ago, after the murder of Katherine Johnston, we were doing a sit-in at City Hall, and we were calling to get rid of the police chief and, you know, hold the mayor accountable. And shortly after that, the city of South Fulton became a city. And I didn't know it was going to be the blackest city in America, but it was the SWATs. Anybody who follows hip hop, they know the SWATs. Yeah. And I was like, okay, the SWATs is about to become its own city. Oh, it's going to be hella black. And I went to BLM folks and I was just like, you know what? Every policy that we've been talking about in the movement for Black Lives and this policy roundtable that we're building, this is the place to enact it. Because Atlanta, quiet as it's kept, is only about 52% black now. If you look up the top 10 blackest cities in America, Atlanta's not even on the list anymore. DC's not on the list anymore because gentrification and decades of black faces in high places that aren't necessarily looking out for black people have caused this city to become, you know, almost a non-black city. And they were like, you know, at the time, folks were like, oh, I don't know if I really believe in getting involved in politics. And I was like, well, everybody that we're protesting is an elected official. Right. So instead of just protesting them, why don't we go take their seats? And that's what I did. I became a councilman representing Old Matt, which is the hood of South Fulton. And it's also where I grew up. And now I'm running for mayor.
Running for mayor, man. Hey, brother, I want to bring our co-host Rebecca and DJ Exclusive on the screen because there's other stories that I want to talk with you about because not only are you running for mayor, but like you have a lot of insight into what's happening around the country. And one of the first things I want to talk to you about is the legalization of marijuana and what we've been seeing recently with the Biden administration, particularly how they have requested. And they were making explanations. Now they're backtracking a little bit, but there's been a penalty on staffers, former staffers, who actually had a history of smoking marijuana. Now, despite guarantees given by the White House leadership that their jobs were safe, multiple staffers from the Biden White House have been fired after admitting smoking weed, even though it's legal in D.C. 5 staffers in total were fired. Last week, House Press Secretary Jen Psaki tweeted about this, saying, we announced a few weeks ago that the White House had worked with security service to update the policies to ensure that past marijuana use wouldn't automatically disqualify staff from serving in the White House. She went on to say, as a result, more people will serve who would not have in the past with the same level of recent drug use. The bottom line is this: of the hundreds of people hired, only 5 people who had started working at the White House are no longer employed as a result of this policy. Now, just yesterday, Psaki was again asked to explain why these individuals were fired. And even though their jobs didn't require security clearance and weed is legal in the district, and this is what she had to say.
Sure. So Vice President Kamala Harris says that she is a past marijuana smoker. She said, quote, "It gives people joy, and we need more joy in this world." She is with a clear majority of the U.S. population in supporting marijuana legalization. According to polls, 2/3 of people do, including about half of Republicans. Yet last week, the Daily Beast reported that there were dozens of White House staffers who were either disciplined or terminated from their jobs for past marijuana use. You seem to confirm 5 terminations on Twitter. And my question is, why would President Biden allow this to happen, especially considering the White House staff were led to believe that pot use would not be disqualifying, and especially considering the Vice President is herself a former marijuana user?
Well, let me first say that what we tried to do as an administration was work with the Security Service, who actually makes these determinations about suitability for serving in government. In the past, and I served in the Obama-Biden administration, the rules were actually far more stringent. So that isn't about anyone's personal point of view. It's about working through the process, the history, and modernizing it and taking steps to address the fact that marijuana is legal in a number of states across the country. It is still illegal federally, right? We know that. There were, as I noted, I think in our comment last week, 5 individuals who are no longer employed at the White House. A number of them, there were other security issues that were raised. And, that's an unfortunate conclusion, of course. But what we tried to do is enable additional members of the team who would not have been able to continue serving in past administrations to continue serving by updating our policy in coordination with the Security Service.
Follow up on that. Surely President Biden could, implement changes here unilaterally and just say that these people can come to work for him.
Well, I think if marijuana was federally legal, that might be a different circumstance. But I don't think I have any more for this for you. Go ahead.
All right, Councilman Khalid, this is my question here. It is especially because of how this disproportionately affects black people across this country, and because of how many white people are getting lined up to make a killing on weed across the country. This rubs me the wrong way, especially coming from a president who absolutely has benefited from not only the war on drugs, but also now black people who are trying to recover from the war on drugs. What are your thoughts on not only this in terms of the White House firing those 5 people, but also in terms of the broader conversation of legalization of marijuana?
I mean, this goes back to being black on purpose, right? And understanding that many of the obstacles we face as a people are institutional obstacles. They are historical obstacles. Weed is an herb, for the record. I have smoked it. And
smoke later on.
When I started smoking it, I didn't have health insurance. I couldn't afford to see a psychologist. Yeah. I couldn't afford a psychiatrist. I couldn't afford prescriptions for opioids and all of the other drugs that many white and upper class folks are strung out on that are legal, right? And so that's that part. And then when you add that entire industries are being created, when you look at the city of Chicago, which has legalized weed over a year ago, but to date has not given one minority license out. They have a minority license program. But somehow into the city of Chicago, ain't no black folks got a license to sell this thing that hundreds of thousands of black people have been locked up for. So it's ridiculous. And at some point, you just have to say, to hell with what it looks like. We're going to be about our values. And if we said that we weren't going to discriminate against people that have past marijuana convictions, then don't discriminate against people that have past marijuana convictions. Period.
That's that on that. It would probably be real messy of me to go to James for a follow-up question because he's my brother in this.
No comment.
In this,
But you should have a comment. I think it's ridiculous that they want.
When the pandemic's over, though. No, go ahead, Rebecca.
You guys can all definitely meet up since you guys all live in the South Fulton area. Meanwhile, I'm over here on White Town. But I think that honestly, hearing her say that, and she's getting on my damn nerves. By the way, let me tell you, I really wanted to like her. I really did. I did. I wanted to give her an opportunity. I wanted to give her a chance. But the way that she is trying so hard, and I know that's her job, but hearing that man's question and saying that she had enough of it, he's asking a really good question.
Hell yeah.
Hey, if you're talking about modernizing things, we're in 2021 and you guys are talking about firing people because they smoked marijuana. You know, they had a little bit of weed. They hit the blunt. For some reasons, but here's the thing. For some reasons, maybe because they don't take pills and maybe they do have anxiety and maybe it's something they do to calm down, you know, as the councilman said. So all of these things, but you're talking about, you know, modernizing it. You're saying the last president that you worked for.
You see how she tried to throw her under the bus?
It was a bit strong. Yeah, it was a bit stronger. You know, the rules were a bit harder and more harsher. But, you know, now and here, you know, and then she went into this one. This is what killed me. It wasn't only the weed that they were fired for. That we found other things. There are other security
I was just about to ask about that too.
So I heard all of that just making excuses, and I didn't like that because what she's trying to run from is what the journalist was saying. Weed ain't even a real issue like that. So why were they really fired? And if we're coming into a modern presidency, why is weed still a thing that you guys are firing people for? And her excuse was, it's not up to us. It's federal. I would like to hear the president of the United States talk about, you know, the disparity between African Americans and how it's hurt them for them to be jailed for something that the white community is monetizing off of right now. Yeah. So what we can do for those who are working for us is go ahead and forgive that. If they have been smoking, it's about abusing drugs. Shouts out to Dr. Carl Hart. It's about the abuse of drugs because white people go to rehab, okay?
Right.
When they're abusing drugs, when they're strung out, when they're walking into stores and shooting up stuff, that's where they go. But you selling weed because this is what you got to do to feed your kids, and you got like 17 years.
Yeah.
Come on, somebody.
It's you see how she threw him she threw Barack Obama under the bus, and then she threw those 5 people under the bus saying that there were other things. The other thing, yeah. I'm like, I'm not really feeling that energy, and not to dogpile on her, but seriously, like she's starting to remind me of just any other press secretary up there, right?
Sarah Huckabee. She's giving Sarah Huckabee vibes. She's giving very much Sarah Huckabee. Okay.
Is she that bad?
Yes, she's lying. She's lying, but the overprotection of something that she knows is wrong. And for her to be her age and understand, and she probably is hitting blunts. She's probably popping pills and drinking at the same damn time. I'm pretty sure a lot of this is going down. So, you know, that's why I'm like, girl, you're one of us. So there is a way that you can answer these questions and not get upset because you feel it. You feel the heat and you understand that you're wrong. But and he's asking is, if you're saying it's you're trying to modernize everything, why are we here? So here's the thing with that. The system has been designed to work exactly as it's been working, and that's against us. And you know, and that's it. That's that on that. So people that did get the job and were fired because of weed, you know, the system is working against you. Write a book about it, baby, if you can. Like, just give somebody the tea to expose.
Khalid, do you think they actually thought this thing through when Kamala has been telling everybody how much weed she smoked?
Absolutely not. Because here's the thing. Since you just pointed out alcohol, if you've ever been to Capitol Hill or Congress, of drinking that goes on in the federal government, the number of people that have DUIs. If we're going to fire people for having weed misdemeanors, we need to fire people that have DUIs. If we do that, half of them will be gone.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a fact. And I'm telling y'all, I just like that's alcohol is a different devil. And I used to be a drinker amongst drinkers, but like during the pandemic, I stopped drinking, you know, because whatever. You cannot look at me with a straight face and make it seem like there's something morally wrong with smoking weed when y'all have all these people out here popping Xanax, popping all kind of prescription pills, drinking a fifth of vodka just so that they can make it through the night. And that's all legal. And here we are. We still got brothers and sisters in jail because they were the pioneers of this weed game. And that's the other thing, like in terms of like the licensing, man. Tell me more about, you were saying about what the licensing in Chicago, and there's not been a single minority or black license issued in Chicago?
Not a single person. People have paid hundreds, even to get those licenses, people have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to attorneys and lobbyists trying that. Just getting the license, right, is an industry. Here in Georgia, we have authorized, I think, 5 growers licenses, and now we're going to be in the second phase. And this isn't for recreational use. We passed something for medicinal use, and there are 5 growers licenses that are going to be given out in the entire state. One of the things that happened in Chicago is that when it was medicinal, they gave out licenses to people. And then when it became recreational, the people who had medicinal licenses, guess what? None of them were black. The first opportunity to start opening recreational places. So I'm actually going to be doing a town hall in June about this very issue with Sheikh Rahman, who is the state senator who has introduced a bill to make recreational marijuana legal. It did not actually get through the legislature, but it's going to be important for us, even before these bills pass, to start looking at who is getting these licenses. What is the process going to be? How are they just doing minority participation in name with this elaborate process? Or is there going to be a guarantee of licensing? And then at the city level, because we talk about all these federal and state things, but this is why local politics is lit. In every city, the people who decide whether a weed store is going to open in your neighborhood aren't the feds or the state government. It's your county commissions and your city councils who write those zoning and business and occupational permit licensing laws. And so it's up to us to make sure that the people that are getting those licenses in our city, the people who are allowed to open stores in our city, look like the people or actually are the people who live in our city. And Oakland and Seattle and some other places have been doing some really radical things to ensure that people who have been historically locked out in those neighborhoods are enfranchised. In Oakland, they've actually created a program to help subsidize minority entrepreneurs who want to get into this business that would not normally have the access to capital, allowing them to piggyback off of a white or majority-owned business.
You're running for mayor in South Fulton, and you just mentioned like some policies. Like I could hear some of the policies that you will be fighting for. Tell us just a little bit more about like what you're fighting for specifically in the blackest city in America.
One is to really reprioritize how we spend money. Right now, like many cities, the largest share of our budget, the first dollars that we spend go to police. And I've been saying that we cannot police our way to prosperity here in South Fulton. We spend about 25% of our tax dollars on police and less than 1% on economic development. And what we know is that police don't actually prevent crime, right? They respond to crime. What prevents crime is opportunities. And so looking at ways that we can create opportunities for people who are caught in this school to prison pipeline is a major part of what I want to do as a city council person. And the second part is improving our infrastructure. One of the reasons that we became a city is because when we were governed by the county, which has a majority white Republican board, most of the county commissioners actually do not live in South Fulton County. And that was reflected in how things were spent. So for example, North Fulton County has an award-winning water treatment plant. In South Fulton County, we get boiled water advisories at least quarterly, right? And so making sure that we are spending money on the infrastructure to make our city a place that people can do business and succeed.
Wow.
So I got a question. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I didn't know that was.
All my friends over there in South Fulton be like, "Girl, another boil water advisory." But I know that you said some of the policy that you're working on are like infrastructure and things like that. One thing that I've seen that you're working on is the blighted property fund, where you're taking like vacated apartments and things like that and fixing them up and creating that idealistic Black, look, what T.I. said was but wasn't Wakanda, because it's like that property, fixing up the property. So tell us about that, because that's very important. I would love to move in a predominantly Black area with good property.
Now we got some nice places. We got some places that rival wherever you're living now. We got some $1 million houses. We got some $1 million houses. I don't know what you're making here on Like It or Not, but
not enough to be moving into those. But let me tell you something.
Free Azor and free Bubble.
Are you watching right now? Listen, but get them.
Let a man talk. Let a man talk. Joe, go ahead and say what you say there, Kelly.
It's coming. It's coming. But no, one of the things that we discovered, or one of the things that I discovered as I dug into why do we have all of these properties? We have properties that have been burned out and abandoned for like over 10 years. And what we discovered was that even under Fulton County, there had never been any money put into demolishing or seizing these properties. They would just get reported, and what happens, the code enforcement department, puts a lien against the house, which means nothing until the house is sold. So it was just, it's a perfect example of there are so many programs that we could be doing if we weren't spending all of our money buying tanks and over-policing our residents and tag readers and all of the things. But we never, it's always something that we're going to get around to eventually, right? Like a $15 minimum wage. We're going to get around to it at some point. And I said, no, we're going to get around to it now. And I created this legislation that said, and this is one of the things that happens, if I can nerd out on you all a little bit, the majority of state and local budgets are in what is called a general fund. So no matter where the money comes from, if you have a code enforcement department that's written hundreds of thousands of dollars in tickets, it doesn't mean that money goes back to code enforcement. If you have a parks department that has charged fees for, renting fields or athletic facilities, it doesn't mean that the money that you're paying the parks department stays with the parks department. It goes back into the general fund. And once it goes into the general fund, it usually gets funneled to things like police and fire, or, we're going to build a new city hall that costs millions of dollars, right? And so what I said is that in this legislation is that all of the money that the Code Enforcement Board issues in fines, plus 0.1% of our city's budget, which totals to be around $100,000, plus the fines, which ended up being around like $200,000, all of that would go into a dedicated fund and would have to be spent on demolishing blighted properties. And I'm actually doing the same thing right now, or I'm calling for the same thing to be done with this money that we're making on these speed cameras that was supposed to be about pedestrian safety. We've made over $1 billion on these pedestrian safety speed cameras, but the first thing that we're buying is a tank for our SWAT team.
Wow. And we see that across the country all the time. And this is being implemented in the blackest city in the country with the blackest city council that I've seen in any city I've ever lived in. So this is not coming down from white folks doing this in the city. This is coming down from black folks doing this in the city. Talk about that with the last few minutes we got left.
I mean, it's because people are not being black on purpose, which doesn't just mean being unapologetically black, but it means being intentionally black in your policies. We've seen around the country a rise in violence over this COVID-19 pandemic. I believe that some of it is just a slowdown that happens every time. If you think about this on the federal level, every time we talk about the military-industrial complex, all of a sudden there's a new conflict that explodes and we need our military. Every time we talk about reallocating or defunding the police, all of a sudden there's an upshoot in violence, and we start hearing stories about police morale. And I am concerned that these slowdowns may be happening, these slow responses to crime may be happening so that people feel that more police are needed. And that there's definitely been an increase in intimate partner violence and domestic violence because people are crammed up. And so we know that there's this rise in violence because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And people without imagination or courage will just say, well, we just need more police, without saying, why is there a rise in violence? Is the rise in violence connected to the fact that people have been stuck at home, that we're the only developed country in the world that had no bailout for people who lost their jobs, that we are evicting people in the middle of a pandemic? Does that have anything to do with the rise in violence? And maybe we should start looking at how to solve these problems at the root instead of just throwing more police at them.
Wow. Man, listen, we want to have you back anytime that you're available. I know you're on the campaign trail and you're also doing your thing as a council member as we speak right now. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. I want to just go around the room. We're going to get out of here. Khalid, tell everybody how they can get up with you and any last word that you want to get in. And then Rebecca, you jump in there. And then James, it is yours.
You can follow me anywhere, Instagram, TikTok, all those things at Khalid Cares USA. My website is khalidcares.com. Everything is, you just put in Khalid Cares, you'll find me. And if you want to get involved with this campaign, if you want to donate or volunteer, you can text the word black to 33777. 23.
Hey. That's what's up.
So 33777. I just needed to know.
337.
That the Black on Purpose is really, I absolutely love that. And I want a hoodie. But you guys could definitely, thank you so much for coming on the show, by the way, as well. I think that this right here is a gem. I don't think people understand or know you here who live in the Atlanta area. And when we come here, the first thing that we want to do is get to the blackest area here. Yeah. And then, I have friends who live in Buckhead and things like that. I live in Atlanta. It's really black. And you get there and it's not so black. It's just not as black as you think. Ben, where you live is black.
I'm saying, I'm agreeing with you. There's some sides of Atlanta, I'm like, oh, this is not as black as I thought.
This ain't black.
I'm in the black side of town.
Oh, but it's really black. My light came out. It does this every single show, Ben, every single time. But here, I really would like to move somewhere where it's black and it's it's kept, and I feel like you have that idea in mind. That just because it's black doesn't mean that we should not give it any care or that it means it's poor. Just because it's associated with Martin Luther King doesn't mean that it should be treated how it's treated. Everybody knows when we say, oh, you go to Martin Luther King Boulevard or whatever, it's hood. It's the one side of the street ain't taken care of. But what you're giving is a better view and a better idea and just a goal. And I feel like we're going to meet that goal. You're going to meet that goal for South Fulton. And maybe one day, like you said, I might be pulling up, buying a little house over there in South Fulton. You know what I'm saying?
You really should. It's the area to be in. Y'all don't understand. I like this little area over here, man. Yeah. South Fulton, I will never go up north like Midtown, downtown. Nah, man. East Point City, South Fulton all day.
You can't hear who?
I was just saying, we're going to get a shirt to rock with your bedazzled braid. I heard the Meghan McCain saying.
Because she really was, she was defending her. She was like, I don't like Meghan, but I like that haircut. I like that.
I do, because I rocked that. So I would. So one day, hopefully, I'll be in South Fulton with my bedazzled braid. You right, and be rocking that.
All right, James. Well, that's it, folks. It is 10:33. Kelly, thanks so much for joining us. Rebecca, James, you know what to do. And follow us. Click that like, share, and subscribe. We will be back tomorrow morning, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time with more Like It or Not.
Oh, yeah. I won't be here tomorrow, y'all.
Wait a minute. You won't be here tomorrow.
I forgot I won't be here in the morning. Yeah.
Where you going?
Yeah.
Last time, it ain't right.
Yeah.
I know where you're going. I apologize. Love you, mean it. Wishing you safe travels. Yes, wishing you safe travles. Because the comment section almost beat me up. They was like, "That's wrong, Rebecca. He was going through things." Okay, I'm sorry. I love you, Bubba. Safe travels.
Safe
and once
travels,
again,
man.
thank you so much for pulling up on the show, Councilman. We gonna make it do what it do tomorrow. Who gonna be DJ YouTube for us?
We gonna do some magic. We're gonna get some magic done on something. We're gonna
have virtual Bubba tomorrow.
We're gonna have some kind of virtual DJ. I'm gonna work some algorithms here and have a DJ here in the morning. I tell you that much. All right, folks. James, it's in your hands, man. Travel safe, James, and give my best to all the Wildcats down there, man. All right, take care.
I will. Definitely will, y'all. Love y'all.
I took a stroll downtown this evening when I heard music echo through the night. The same old songs that I heard the night before. So I started running. So I
wear 3X. 2X or 3X, okay?
I didn't think that I would ever see your face again.
Shout out to everybody that came today. Dr. Nicholas Freudenberg and Councilman Khalid. Thank you so much. Gonna miss y'all as well too.
My heart was pumping to the beat that was blasting through the night. And on the street the crowd was jumping, singing songs and dancing through the night. I didn't think that I would ever see your face again, but I was wrong. I can't believe we're dancing in the street. All I ever wanted was to get close to you. Now I'm burning in your atmosphere. I can't feel my feet. While we're dancing in the street in the neon light, what the music gon' reveal the night.
All right, y'all.
And when the music started to fade out, the first rays of sunlight lit up your eyes. Oh, how I wish this night would never end, so we can keep on.
Y'all make sure that y'all hit that like button. Y'all hit that like button, share, comment, subscribe, so you know what Like It or Not is going on.
But I was wrong. I can't believe we're dancing in the street.
Certain things that don't hurt nothing.
All I wanted was to get close to you. Now I'm burning in your atmosphere. I can't feel my feet while we're dancing in the street in the neon light. What the music gon' reveal tonight.
The whole one should be. All right, y'all, that's gonna do it for your boy James Williams, y'all. So y'all already know what time it is. It's corporate America time. I gotta get prepared for the morning and everything else, y'all. So thank y'all so much again for tuning in this morning. Make sure that you tune in tomorrow for another absolutely fabulous show where you will get virtual DJ Bubba, and it's still gonna be the same thing. So y'all just be ready for it, all right? Hey, thank y'all for all the love and support, y'all. We greatly appreciate it. And I will see y'all on Monday, but like it or not, we'll be right here tomorrow morning, 8:30. Same bad time, same bad channel, y'all. Love y'all, mean it. Mwah. Like it or not is out. Peace.